I know I promised that this was going to be a day in the life video, but meh, it's not. I want to talk about a book today. It's a book which is part of a series that a lot of people have a go at, a lot, and it confuses me slightly. The book in question is Twilight. Yes, I own a copy of Twilight, although I did give the books to my sister after she passed her GCSEs. I know that there will be some people who have already switched off just because I said that I'm going to talk about Twilight. I don't really understand why so many people are so against Twilight. Whenever people have a go at Twilight to me, and I go, well, you know, it's alright. And they go, have you read them? And yeah, I've read them. What, you've read them? Well, of course I've read them. How can I possibly judge them if I haven't read them? Just to give you a bit of background, I brought this book, I think, probably just after the first film came out. And that was just because a lot of people were saying, oh, there's this new thing, it's going to be the next big thing, it's the next Harry Potter. And I love Harry Potter, so I was very open to the idea of there being a next big thing. And I decided to buy the first book. It was only about £5 on play.com. And I decided to see what all the fuss was about. So I got this book and I read it in a day, which is a good sign. And it's alright. It's not amazing, but it's not dreadful. I do think it's a little bit unfair that people compare this with Harry Potter so much, because, well, my only comparison with it, and I think it's a reference that some people might not get, it's like arguing that Michael McIntyre is a better comedian than Stuart Lee. They're both fantastic comedians, but they're completely different. Like, if you want to compare this to anything, you should compare it to sort of, you know, Mills and Boon and stuff like that, because it's a love story, essentially. Yeah, I read this, I'm not going to lie, I quite enjoyed it. And, you know, I finished it and I thought, well, that was a fairly reasonable 435 pages of escapism. And so I bought the rest of the books, and didn't like the second one so much. Thought the third one was alright, you know, nothing special, but alright. Thought the fourth one was fantastic in places, utterly terrible in places, but mainly just okay. It's harmless, is what I'm saying, and I don't get why people get so het up about it. I know that I'm not the target audience for this book, which obviously is why I don't think it's as good as Harry Potter, because I am the target audience for Harry Potter. But the target audience for this book is teenage girls, really. When I first read it, I was probably a couple of years too old, and also I'm a male, which is probably why I didn't enjoy it as much as, say, my sister did. If you ignore the vampires and the werewolves and all of that stuff, it's a typical sort of chick lit, I think is the phrase for it. A chick lit book. I think that's the right phrase. And so, while I don't think it can be put on the same pedestal as Harry Potter, people need to back off, because there's nothing wrong with it. If you don't like it, you're probably just not the target audience. I have to say as well, in terms of the films, I've seen them all. Liked the first one, thought the second and third one, and I haven't seen the fourth one yet. I love Arpats, and I hate myself for referring to him as Arpats, but, you know, I use the colloquialisms that everyone else uses. I've only seen sort of interview clips with him, but from what I've seen, and there's sort of, they have GIFs on Tumblr with little subtitles of what he's saying, and he doesn't really seem to like them, which I think is hilarious. All the time when actors appear in films, they always say that they're a massive fan of the story, and if it's a book adaptation they say, oh, I love the books. But I remember when I first heard him interviewed, when the Twilight film first came out, he got asked on Radio 1, so were you a fan of the books before? And he said, no, I'd never read them, they're for girls. Which I thought was brilliant. Sorry that today's video wasn't the day in the life video, nor is tomorrow's. Tomorrow's video is a poem which I wrote in the summer, and I just found this morning when I was clearing out some stuff, and I'm quite fond of it, so I'm gonna do that as a video, and I can promise you that that will definitely be the case because I've already filmed that video. So yeah, I won't say I'll see you tomorrow because I filmed the video today, but you'll see me tomorrow.